Ecclesia ton, nesion, orthodoion, Christianion, tes elados, iera archiepiscope athinkon, graphea, leof con polios. 11. Athenae, tau, 308, t, 11a, 353-925, 332-144, and Athenaeis te February 20th, 1976, Atia iera synodos, areth prot, 1158, to the hierarchy of the Russian Orthodox Church outside of Russia, 75 East 93rd Street, New York, 28. IUSA, Most Right Reverend President, H.R. Philaretos, Right Reverend Prelates, may Christ be with us. I. In the year 1971, our synodical exarchate, consisting of their right reverences, the bishops of Corinthia, Messrs. Callistos, Kitiu, Messrs. Epiphanios, and the Reverend Chancellor Eugenios Tombros, proceeded to the UBA in order to get in contact with your synod and arrange the spiritual communication with you, with a view to strengthening the sacred fight of the orthodoxy. Before coming to any spiritual contact with you, our synodical exarchate submitted to you a statement of credo of the Church of the Genuine Orthodox Christians of Greece, the content of which was, having accepted the innovation of the new calendar, the Glimuli has become schismatic, and its holy mysteries have no validity, being deprived of the grace of God, in accordance with the first canon of Basilius the Great. This statement was read by the chief priest, Georgios Grab, in your presence on the 15th of September 1971, resulting in A. Approval and acceptance by voice of this statement, absolutely and unanimously, by the whole of hierarchy. B. The express affirmation on your part to our synodical exarchate as to the sending of an official document of your confession of credo. Under these presumptions and exclusively, we have been led to the ecclesiastical, spiritual, and mystical communication with you, with the upright hope of identity of conception and practical application of all those which the Catholic Orthodox Church of Christ proclaims, thinks, and believes too, as much regarding the heresies as about the schisms, and especially the calendar question. Afterwards, you have undertaken the obligation in the year 1971, upon application of our exarchate, No. 736, dated 12/9.1971, to consider the case of derivation of our hierarchy from one and sole bishop, the Archbishop Matthew I, of blessed memory, your judgment, to be relied upon the divine and holy canons, and you have pronounced your decision under number 16 of the 15th of September, 1971. Joint masses and joint prayers and visits of clergymen of our churches ensued, confirming the unity in faith and the communio in Holy Spirit, leading to the conviction that, first, your attitude towards the followers of the innovation of the new calendar, as it is defined by the Orthodox teaching and as reported to you on the 15th of September, 1971 by our synodical exarchate. Second, the absolute interruption of communions with the new calendar followers. Third, the consideration on the basis of the canons of the Church, and particularly of the canon of Basilius the Great, of the mysteries officiated by the innovator, would be included in a written confessions of yours, and it was dearly promised in September 1971, and would be realized in an integral manner. We believed, most reverend fathers, that your intentions would be sincere, and that you would follow the Orthodox line, based on the divine and holy canons. In the summer of 1972, however, and while we were expecting your written confession, you sent a circular letter to all the churches in which, inter alia and the way, you said that the introduction of the new calendar brought about a schism, quoting in fact the statement of a Greek professor of theology, without even dealing with the consequences of the schism or the way of its confrontation by the Church in accordance with the holy canons. Since then, oral statements by clergymen of yours, letters by people grieving for the Orthodox faith, and undeniable information about various violations on the part of higher and lower clergymen of your church, and about complete spiritual communication with schismatic new calendar followers, caused us sorrow and disappointment, protests of our clergymen and laymen, and shook our confidence in your views on the calendar matter. Since then, we have been making persistent efforts to have your written confession of credo on the above matter, and for this reason, His Beatitude, the Archbishop of our HM. Andreas has written to you twice. Quite unexpectedly, however, we received a letter, No. 35759, dated the 13th of December 1973, from His Most Right Reverence M.M. Philaretos, referring to irrelevant matters and subjects, and not to our Archbishop's Andreas questions. In the meantime, discontent of the clergy and laymen and ourselves, because of your failure to send us the promised confession of faith, kept swelling, and for this reason we sent you our synodical document No. 1007/1, 5.74, in which, once again, Due to the importance of the matters involved, we made reference with analytical memorandum to the whole subject of the causes and the consequences of the holiday calendar schism, expressing the unanimity of clergy and laymen in its contents, and requested you to send a written reply to the questions included in our said letter. For you, having not received a due reply from you, we sent our exarchy, consisting of synodical prelates, Callisos of Corinthia, and Nicolaos of Piraeus, and of the Archimandrite Callinicos, which, having held joint masses and prayers with you, was received in audience during the meetings of your hierarchy on September 12, 1974, and submitted to you for discussion the burning subjects and the demand for your confession of faith. We consider it certain, your graces, that you remember very well what was exchanged then between us, so that we do not need to revert to them. Our exarchy asked for the written formulation of your credo on the calendar question, and the validity or not of the mysteries of the new calendar followers, as the above memorandum refers to, and received in reply a draft of confession of faith, to which it disagreed. The disagreement having been expressed in writing, and in the expectation of the final document, our exarchy extended its stay for a few more days, and returned to Greece hoping that you would send the written confession of faith. All these show the importance we attributed to the written formulation of your credo and the great efforts we have made to this end. In spite of the discontent of the clergy and the laymen of our church, we were waiting tolerantly in full episcopal conscience, hoping for an orthodox attitude and line. Having been in full and ardent expectation for the last 4 years of the proclamation promised by, with great difficulty and with long delay, we received on the 30th of January 1975 your document number 3.5, 760, dated the 22nd of September 74, which includes your views on the calendar. You consider the introduction of the new calendar as a mistake-carrying anomaly and finally bringing about schism. With regards to your viewing of the mysteries of the Hugh calendar followers, you adopt the following. Concerning the matter relative to the presence or the non-existence of God's grace among the followers of the new calendar, the Russian church outside of Russia do not consider themselves or any other local church having the authority to take final decision, as a final settlement of this matter can only be effected through a properly convened, competent Ecumenical Council with the indispensable participation of a free Church of Russia. On the above and on all the contents of your document, we have to make the following kenagla. A. The calendar question is not only a contemporary temptation, as you claim, but it made its appearance in 1582, when the Church resisted, condemned, and cursed this innovation through the well-known and orthodox synods of the years 1583 to 1593, under Jeremias II, Pranos of 1956, under Cyril, and of 1848 under Anthimos, Patriarch of Constantinople. If we study well the decisions of these pan-Orthodox synods, we shall find out that it is not simply a contemporary temptation or an error, but also a controversion to the Holy Spirit, as not having adequately spoken in the ecumenical and local synods. The pan-Orthodox synod, which was held in 1853, when Jeremias II, called Tranos, was Patriarch of Constantinople, made the following condemning decision. Let he who does not follow the customs of the Orthodox Church, as the 7 holy ecumenical synods decreed, by which legislated for us to follow the Holy Easter and the calendar, and follows instead the newly invented calendar of the atheist astronomers of the Pope, and opposes all these, and tries to overthrow and spoil the traditional doctrines of the Church, have the anathema, and be outside the assembly of the devouts. And you, the pious and Orthodox Christians, stick to what you have learned since you were born and have been brought up to, and when the time and need come, shed your blood in order to safeguard your traditional faith and confession. The condemning decision in 1848, when Anthimos was Patriarch, speaks about blasphemy against the Holy Spirit on the part of those who accept any innovation, and reads as follows. We stick to the confession which we have taken over pure from such great men, detesting any innovation which is considered as dictated by the devil. He who accepts an innovation considers the declared Orthodox faith inadequate. But this faith, being already perfect, is sealed and is not subject either to reduction, increase, or alienation. And for this reason, he who dares either to do, advise someone, or think about it, has already denied the faith of Christ. He has already willingly submitted himself to the eternal anathema for having blasphemized the Holy Spirit, as not having adequately spoken in the Scriptures and the ecumenical synods. Consequently, all the innovators, either in heresy or in schism, have dressed themselves willingly the curse as garment, whether they were popes, patriarchs, clergymen, laymen, or even an angel from heaven. B. The calendar question is considered under trial, still undecided. While it appears from the above, it is irrevocably judged by the pan-Orthodox synods. C. The presence or the non-existence of the Holy Grace among the EU calendar followers does not depend on any decision of your church or of any other local church, because since a church is accepting the new calendar becomes schismatic, the holy canons concerning the schism apply, according to which every schismatic church is deprived of the divine grace, ist canon of Basilius the Great. In this respect, this is what the Holy Rudder contains. Schismatics are called those who differentiate themselves for the Catholic Church, not on account of doctrines of faith, but for certain ecclesiastical and easily solved matters. All the schismatics coming to the one holy Catholic Church have to be baptized, because the first prelates of the schismatics had, from the Church, the grace to ordain and to baptize. Yet, once they have been severed from the whole body of the Church, they have lost it, and can no longer baptize others, or ordain, and even simply communicate spiritual grace, of which they have been deprived through the schism. Because, as when a part is cut from the body, it is mortified at once, because no vital strength is any more conveyed to it, so the schismatics too, once they have been torn from the body of the Church, they have immediately been mortified and have lost the spiritual grace in action of the Holy Spirit, Holy Nicodemus. Consequently, those baptized by them are considered to have been baptized by laymen. The introduction of the EU calendar brought about upset and disorder in the calendar of holidays of the Church, and split up its unity and created a schism, according to the decision of the Ecumenical Synod, which clearly dictates the uniform, simultaneous, and like celebration of the Christian holidays. The schism of the calendar of holidays is of theological and ecclesiastical significance, for, since we believe in a militant and triumphant church, in a society of saints in joint mass of angels, and celebration together of those above with those below, that is, of the militant and the triumphant church, we have no right to recognize a gracious and a sanctifying action in the mysteries of those who accept the innovation of the new calendar, severing thus themselves from the one Catholic and Apostolical Church. 1. The innovators having become schismatics and being outside the one holy Catholic and Apostolical Church, they are deprived of the one baptism according to the canon of the Synod of Chalcedon. They have not the ability to convey the divine grace, of which they have been deprived. 8. With regards to the question of the calendar, we believe, declare and apply what the teachings of the Church dogmatizes and the holy canons prescribe about schisms. That is, a church accepting the Hugh calendar becomes schismatic, a thing which the committee convened in 1923 expressed. The Church of Greece, as well as the other autocephalous Orthodox churches, although internally independent, are closely linked with one another and united by the principle of the spiritual unity of the Church, and they are composed of the only one Church, the Orthodox Church. Consequently, none of them can sever itself from the rest of them and accept a Hugh calendar without becoming schismatic with regard to the others. And consequently, the Orthodox Church clearly expresses itself about the schism, the effects and consequences of them, and not only about their provocation. In view of the above, and in order to avoid any seducement, we clarify the following, which constitute also the practical implementation of the dogmatic teachings of the Church in the daily action of its life, and express briefly our ecclesiastical attitude. A. The introduction of the Hugh calendar for use by the Church has brought about contem of theological and doctrinal character. B. Any church accepting the Wao Gainovos Somos entirely schismatic. C. The mysteries of every schismatic church are void in accordance with Canon A of Basilius the Great and the Canon of the Synod of Chalcedon. Tela spiritual ecclesiastical communication is allowed or justified with the new calendar followers, who are schismatics in accordance with Canon 33rd of the Synod of Laodicea. The Church of the genuine Orthodox Christians of Greece has no spiritual communication of canonical relations with churches using the old calendar, Jerusalem, Serbia, Russia, etc., but communicates with church which follow the new calendar innovation, and this because, according to Saint Chrysostomos, he who communicates with one has not taken the Holy Communion is excommunicated. F. We accept the laymen reverting from the delusion of the new calendar with a confession of the Orthodox faith, by which the delusion of the new calendar is disavowed, and we anoint them with the holy myron of Orthodox origin in the case they have been baptized under the new calendar, ist canon of Basilius the Great and the Synod of Chalcedon. B. We accept for communion new calendarist clergymen coming back to us after a libelous article against the Jew calendar and a disown against their ecclesiastical authority, and we put our hands on their heads, reading on them confirmatory prayers, according to Canon 7th of the Second Ecumenical Synod. H. We do not perform any mystery or any sacred ceremony to the followers of the new calendar. I. No new calendar follower is allowed to participate in our mysteries, as in the case of baptism, in which no new calendar godfather for a child of an Orthodox or vice versa is acceptable, according to Apostolical Canon 45th. J. We prohibit the attendance of our followers of church celebrations held by new calendar followers, as per the Canon 33rd of the Synod of Laodicea. This is the ecclesiastical attitude of the Church of the genuine Orthodox Christians, based on the divine and holy rules and on the holy tradition. This is not the result of one-sided views, decisions, and actions, nor is due to a peculiar attitude of our spiritual father M.M. Matthew of blessed memory, but is the faithful application of what is provided by the holy canons concerning the schismatics. It was practically applied in the year 1935 by all the members of the Church, headed by the then hierarchy, by the official denouncement of the innovating Church through a judicial bailiff. 3. Because of all the above, Right Reverend Fathers, obeying to the voice of the Church and to our episcopal conscience based on the canonical, doctrinal, and traditional foundations, and acting with a view to preserving immaculate the treasure of the sacred heritage handed down to us by the Holy Fathers, we are led to the interruption of our inter-ecclesiastical relations with your Church, in accordance with our aforetaken decision, No. 1097 of Nay 2nd, 1975, wishing that the Lord may help you think in accordance with the holy traditions in Jesus Christ, finding no other excuses, because this is tradition. Any further relation with you will depend upon the future attitude and probable revision of your credo with regards to the calendar question, for which we will incessantly pray to the Lord. The Holy Synod, Archbishop of Athens, Andreas, President, the Metropolite M.M. Philaretos and his Synod, the Synod of the Hierarchy of the Church of Russians of the Bisertion in the USA, and otherwhere member of the Church of Russians of the Dispersion, the Chief Priest, Giorgio Scrambe, Secretary of the Synod of Russians of the Dispersion in the USA,